Welcome back to Not Suffer With Me. Maybe if you guys have noticed by now, I decided to change the name of my podcast. It's now called Uncommon Sense. If you can't figure out why, well, then maybe you should listen because you might need some common sense. I don't know. I felt like Suffer With Me was very negative. That's not the kind of vibe that I'm trying to give with this. I'm trying to give a more positive vibe. If you guys have ever watched Modern Wisdom, that's like my favorite podcast. And I'm not trying to copy Chris. I'm trying to do my own thing. But I do believe the world needs more shows like his where he's talking to people, trying to educate more people. He never claims to be the world's smartest guy or to know all the answers, but he accepts the fact that he has a lot to learn and just literally wants to help himself and record the process and help others along the way. I think that is such a great framework. And yes, that's his original idea. I don't think he was the first person to ever do it. And he's not the last person to ever do it. I think that the world needs more of it. So that's the approach I'm taking, less the David Goggins badass route. But shit, who knows, dude? Maybe David Goggins will be on the pod someday. That'd be sick. He's been on Chris's. So that's the route I'm going. Today's episode is a Q&A. So I've just been collecting some questions from you guys. I'm just going to read through them, answer them to the best of my ability. If you also have questions, check out my link tree in my bio on Instagram or TikTok and scroll down. You'll find Uncommon Sense. And under that, there's a form to fill out and it'll prompt you. You can ask a question. All right, let's get into it. Miguel Hernandez, 77. What's one piece of advice you'd give your younger self about life or fitness? Honestly, Michael Smolik or Higher Up Wellness, you might know him as, probably has one of the best frameworks that I've ever seen. And he ends each video with, it's not easy, but it is simple. Don't overcomplicate it. I think that's so true. I think that works for fitness and for nutrition really well, but it works for every area of your life. And Michael knows that too, because he'll talk not just about fitness stuff. He'll talk about work stuff and corporate America stuff. And he always ends his videos with, it's not so easy, but it is simple. Don't overcomplicate it. It's true. It's true about your faith. It's true about, building relationships with, people in your life. So that's the piece of advice I'd give myself. It's not easy, but it is simple. Don't overcomplicate it. Heavy D, what's your go-to pre-workout meal that gives you energy without making you feel heavy? That's a good question. So before a run, I like to keep it really light. Maybe just some honey. I like these Honey Plus packets that I've been taking. HNY Plus. Super dope. Check them out. They've just got honey, electrolytes, and some caffeine. Otherwise, I'll just rock with some electrolytes. But before a workout, I do like some food in my stomach. Maybe a couple pieces of fruit. If I don't have a workout for 2 hours and I've got time to make a meal, I'll probably get some protein in me. Usually eggs and some sort of fruit. But I do like to keep it light before a workout. I don't like food swashing around in my stomach. Oops. Excuse me. Zero Cool. What's the hardest habit you've had to break in your fitness or life journey? Definitely diet. I share a lot about my diet. I feel like I've gotten to a place in life where my diet's I'm pretty strict with my diet, or I'm pretty disciplined with my diet. And that took a long time. I struggled for a long time, just always doing well and going back to the junk food. And literally, I just kept chipping away at this monster of bad food cravings. And with time, I overcame it. It's a mental battle is what it comes down to. Especially if you're a bigger guy who's wanting to lose weight, food is such a important part of everybody's life. And, family gatherings revolve around food. Everything we do revolves around meals. So it just makes it really hard. But that probably took me the better part of 2 years to like really be intentional about fixing and then actually fixing. Do you believe in motivation, or do you think discipline is the only way? Asks Ronnie J. I believe in motivation. I think that motivation can be a great tool if it comes, but to rely on motivation is a great way to fail every single time things get tough. Motivation is an emotion. You have to let emotions come and go, good and bad, because they will come and go. You can't hold on to those. You can't rely on those. So we don't rise to the level of the occasion. We fall to how's the quote go? We fall to the level of our training. I think that's what it is. So discipline's going to take you so much further. But use motivation when it comes. I'm not saying spit in the face of motivation. How do you balance eating clean with actually enjoying your food, especially when you're craving junk? From Totally Autistic. Nice username. I balance eating clean with actually enjoying food, especially when craving junk, by basically not having junk in the house. It helps a lot that I'm a bachelor. I'm a young guy. I got a studio to myself, and I just don't bring it in the house. It doesn't come through my door, because if it does, it would get eaten. I'm not a guy who can just have a bag of potato chips sit in the cupboard, because they're going to get eaten. I can't even, I think there's clean forms like Boulder or Siete make like seed oil free, clean ingredient chips. Still, no. Get them out of my house. If I go to my grandma's house and she's got some, she's fairly healthy, and she has a lot of like seed oil free options for things. But even then, I can't be around it. Eliminate it. Change your environment, or change what's in your environment to help you be more successful. That's what I would say. Travi Topper. Do you ever struggle with comparison? Dang. If so, how do you deal with it when you see people doing, quote, better than you? That's a good question, Travi. I do struggle with comparison. Yeah, man, that's a really, really good question. I compare myself a lot to a lot of other people in the space that I'm in, that do the running, the lifting, the hybrid, if you want to call it. And even just in the nutritional space, I'll see people whose, their videos do way more views than mine. And it's so tempting to think that I'm doing something wrong, or that they've got something I don't, and that there's something missing in me, and I'm lesser because I'm not getting the same results as whoever. But I'm not going to lie and say I don't ever struggle with that. But I have gotten to a place, the thoughts come and they go. When I lay my head down at night, each night, I know I'm me. I'm going to do me. I'm going to be me. My results are going to come at a different time than Fonz or than Nathan French or whoever it is. Okay, we're on different paths. Those are a couple of the guys that got me to want to do this. And I think there's a healthy amount of comparison that can be there to help challenge you. But if that's what your drive is coming from, is that comparison, being like them, elevating yourself to be exactly like them, you're first not going to be authentic. You're not going to be you. So then if you get to the point where you accomplish those things, you won't even be able to internally celebrate, because you didn't do it. You put on a mask and then accomplished it. So learning to love my own lane and be okay with my own pace. Good question, Travi. Dunkin' your donuts. What's your favorite bodyweight exercise that builds strength fast? Well, I wouldn't say that there's any I don't know, bro. I'm not Dr. Mike, but there's not necessarily any exercise that builds strength fast. Everything's kind of relative to how you're doing it. If you're training with intensity, if you're letting yourself recover. But favorite body weight exercise, I would say push-ups, no doubt. Used to hate them, made myself start doing them, love them. They've developed my chest in ways that I would have never achieved otherwise without them. You can do them anywhere. Best exercise ever, in my opinion. So, British Wales. What's your secret to eating out at restaurants without going off track with nutrition goals? That's a really good question. And I would say the answer depends on what season of life I'm in. If I'm really trying to be strict with my diet, I'm going to order a steak or, a salad. Like, you can always find pretty clean options. Even if you go to a burger place, just get plain patties. People will look at you kind of funny, but it works. No one really cares what you're doing. But I also understand that, like, if I just ran a marathon, like I will be in 10 days from now, and I'm probably going to go out to eat with my family, I'm going to have a burger. I'm going to probably eat the bun, or I'm going to have a fat burrito and I'm going to eat the tortilla, and I'm probably going to ingest some seed oils, but like, that's life. So you need to know where you draw the line between, am I breaking my discipline? Am I in a season where I need to be disciplined, where I promised myself I would be? And then you need to make space for yourself to break those rules a little bit. User 623333. I've been stuck at the same bench press weight for months. Is there any tips that helped you break through plateaus? Well, user 62333, I really don't bench press. At least not flat barbell bench press, which is what I assume you're talking about. I don't find the return on investment great for me. I like to do dumbbell incline bench press. So I can't really help you, but look up Luke DeWeese and send him a DM. He will know the answer to that one. J4 Max, how do you structure your day to maximize productivity and still have time to train? That's a really good question. I would say winning the morning has really been big for me. I used to, and winning the morning starts with winning the night before. So your sleep's got to be dialed in. You got to be getting 8 hours of sleep if you're training like a dog, or if you're an athlete, or if you like to train hybrid, lifting, running, you're working out, this many times a week. You got to be getting really good sleep. But to fill it all in one day, or like get a day out of it, still go to work, still do schoolwork, or if you're a student, you got to get up at a decent time. I get up at 5, I knock out my first run, or my only run of the day, my first exercise of the day. Get my run over with. Usually, this time of year before the sun is even up, and it feels great to just get it done and over with. I've already got like over 10,000 steps under my belt for the day, so that helps with the step goal. And yeah, win the morning and you'll win the day. User 82128, what's the most unconventional habit you have that keeps you on track with your goals? Unconventional. Dude, I might have to Google exactly what that word means. Don't make fun of me, guys. I know what unconventional means, like uncommon, or like maybe even possibly frowned upon. But we're going to look it up. Define unconventional. Not based on or conforming to what is generally done or believed. Okay, that's a good one. I'm with Sam Solik, not the Jeff Nippard crowd. Science-based lifting, overrated in my opinion. Go hard. Go balls to the wall. That's how you're going to get results. You can follow the perfect training regimen with the perfect form, yada, yada. No doubt. That's the most efficient, but train with intensity, ego lift, maybe a little bit. Don't hurt yourself, but push your limits. That's how you're going to get results. There's my Unconventional Habit. Zoe Z. Do supplements actually make a difference, or is it just marketing hype? Yeah, supplements definitely can make a difference. I would say your overall like daily routine, it's like a car, right? Like you don't, so say that you're a person who wants to start being more fit, and you start, and as a comparison, there's a car that's broken down. When you're starting to fix the car, you're going to start with the body of the car and the engine, and I'm not a car guy, but you get the gist. You don't start with the radio, okay? Later down the road, once you kind of get, some of the main functions of the car running, some new tires on it, whatever, then you can start fixing up a few of the smaller things, but your main focus needs to be on those big things first. So supplements can absolutely help your experience as a person the same way a radio would help your driving experience or fixing the air conditioning or the heat would. But without a running engine and tires on your wheels, you're not gonna be able to save yourself by fixing the radio. So there's a place for them. They're not just marketing hype, but you can survive without them most of the time. But I gotta be careful. You can survive without a lot of things. Skippy S5. What's a recovery method no one talks about but should? Probably, I'd say sleep. I mean, a lot of people talk about that, but more people should talk about that. I think sleep's extremely important, super underrated. I would also say the sauna is pretty darn underrated. You go to some other countries like in Europe, like Iceland, I think Norway, they all have saunas. It's like in every household. That's crazy. And they have like the longest lifespan. So there's something to it. Listen to Dr. Rhonda Patrick's podcast on saunas. She had a really good one with Dr. Andrew Huberman. They'll both be on this podcast someday. Don't worry about it. But yeah, there's some insane studies done on that. Maddie P. What's one fitness myth? What's one fitness myth that you always see? The one that I see the most that pisses me off is, because I still see it. I don't know how people haven't been called out and made fun of enough for it by now that they stopped making it. But they'll start off by like clickbaiting you by showing their abs and best ab routine to get a six-pack. I still see those videos. That's bullcrap. The only way you get a six-pack is by being in a calorie deficit. And sure, you can train your core to maybe make your abs pop a little bit more. And training core is absolutely healthy for your overall health, but it's not going to give you a six-pack. Joey Baller 109. What's your mental trick for getting through a grueling workout when you're already exhausted? Dude, that's a good question. Getting through a grueling workout when you're already exhausted. I would say I come to a place where I think I'm not going to fail today. I promise myself I'm not going to fail, and then I just go ahead and I don't. Yeah, I have that a lot with like long runs. My knees will start hurting, or I'm really thirsty and the inner thoughts really start to gnaw away at me. But I understand because I've pushed through it before. And if you've never pushed through it all the way, then do it. Make yourself once, because that feeling that you get at the end is so much better than the small relief that you get from stopping or quitting early, because that feels good for a little bit and then it eats at you all day long, rather than it hurts for a little bit when you finish and then all day long you like bask in the glory. So sure, there's my answer. Gone with the Wind. How do you know when it's time to push through soreness versus when to rest? That kind of goes into this next question perfectly. So like I said, there's times you push through, and you win the day, win the workout. But you do need to understand when your body is telling you, bro, what the heck? We need to be recovering more or eating more or resting more. And you'll usually know. You will know. You need to come to a place with your discipline where you understand the difference between pain and injury and mental toughness. I know that's a very fine line, but you'll know the line. And if you want to make excuses for it, you will, because you can, but you'll know. Cologne King 9. What are the top 5 songs on your workout playlist? That's a great question, bro. Let's look. Let's go to Spotify. My Spotify playlist is called Layer of Paint, by the way. If you guys ever are running dry on songs and you want to add some to your playlist, there you go. Dude, there's so many good ones. I might do top 5 artists. Crystal Castles is amazing. Kerosene, Suffocation, so good. I like Kid Cudi. Kid Cudi make the list, yeah. Travis Scott probably make the list. And let's see. I do like Deftones. I don't know if they'd make the top 5. Yeah, we'll go with Greta Van Fleet and Red Hot Chili Peppers. Was that 4 or 5? I don't know. Alice in Chains too. There you go. That's more than 5. Daily dose of baseball. What's one healthy food that everyone eats that you secretly think is overrated? Great question. Peanut butter. I mean, I think there's a place for it, and like an organic, mold-free peanut butter can be good for you. But bro, there is so much you can't. What I think is overrated about it is people call it a high protein food. Yeah, there's protein in it. There's plant protein, not even complete protein, and you can't call it high protein when there's 7 grams for 200 calories. That's horrible ratio. I mean, cheese is a higher protein than that, but you don't really hear people saying high protein snack eating cheese. Come on. There's way better options. I do think it's really good though. Big Booty Muncher 95. What's an unconventional? There's that word again. You guys like unconventional. What's an unconventional mindset shift you made that changed how you approach life or fitness? All right, Big Booty Muncher. I'll spill some knowledge on you here. Unconventional mindset shift you made. Dude, no doubt. Perfect. I got the book right here. I would say reading this book by Mark Manson, The Subtle Art of Not Giving a Flip, definitely helped me the most with my mindset shift. And this book, it's not what you think. Like when I first told my mom I was reading it, she was like, well, that doesn't sound great. And I'm like, to be fair, I get it. It doesn't sound great. It doesn't sound like you're going to leave after reading this book a better person, but you do. I mean, it really shows you, it's more about weeding out the unimportant stuff and prioritizing the important stuff. So it's not about not giving a fuck about anything. It's about finding the right things to give a fuck about. So I don't give a shit if, my shoes get a little muddy. Like, is that really worth my time? No. Maybe instead, I care about making sure my business is running successfully, making sure that my mom is healthy, whatever. You know what I mean? Shift your focus off of all these little petty things that don't even deserve your time and focus on the things that matter. This is just one of the many that I could grab. The one thing is another one that just talks about focusing on one thing. Don't let your mind run all these places. Dial your focus. Another one right here, Essentialism. Amazing book just about cutting out the weeds and letting what really matters grow. Your attention is like water that you're putting on all these crops. You don't have enough water to water all of them, or they're all going to die. So choose the most important ones, water them, make them healthy, and reap what you sow. There you go. Blue Cave, what's your take on intermittent fasting for building muscle? Worth trying or waste of time? Well, Blue Cave, what I would say is for building muscle, you probably don't want to intermittent fast if your goal is to build muscle. Dr. Mike can come after me, whatever. I'm pretty sure he would agree with that. If your goal is to lose weight, intermittent fasting can definitely help because it's going to close or shorten your eating window, and then it's going to be harder to eat X amount of calories in this small time frame. It's really hard to eat 3,000 calories in 6 hours compared to eating 3,000 calories in 16 hours. You know, when you space your meals out, it's easier to eat more. So if you're trying to build muscle, that would probably end up making it harder. It's going to be harder to get more protein because protein's satiating. It's like a reverse effect. Not to say you can't lose weight and gain muscle, but that's a whole different question. Oz PCD. How do you balance social life with staying disciplined, especially when friends want to party or eat junk? I would say balance is kind of a controversial word. Controversial, whatever. Balance. You know, I think balance is real. I think, you know, it's good to have balance, but I think hardly ever is balance actually like this. You know, there's times where you're balancing like this, you're prioritizing things for what season of life you're in, depending on what you want to be doing, where you want to be going down the road, and, you know, what matters to you most. And I don't think that, depending on what you're prioritizing, hardly ever is there going to be much balance that's not like this. So figure out what you want, Oz. And if what you want is to be with your friends, party, and eat junk, then that's what you can do. If you want no part of that, don't do it at all. If you think there's a place for it once a month, make it happen. But stay true to whatever you tell yourself is the way to go. So you got it, bro. And last one, because I need to eat. From Ethan, 44958. Have you ever given 100% and still come up short? That's a heck of a question, Ethan. Probably more times than I can count. But yeah, definitely with maybe not as much with like workouts stuff, but like with relationship stuff, I've just not, I don't know, this isn't a relationship page. I don't really talk about girls very much, but it's hard when you feel like you give 100% and you still come up short. There's nothing else you can do, man. You gave it all. So, yeah, I have given 100% and came up short. I will say, for anyone who's kind of on a journey right now where maybe your journey's similar to mine, where at one point you were kind of a party boy, didn't prioritize the right things, and came to a place in life where you decided to change. Well, I could always look back on the old me and the relationships that didn't work out and think, man, this makes sense. I was trouble. I was doing all this dumb shit. No wonder this girl broke up with me or that things didn't work out. Because, my life was a mess. So I could maybe use that as an excuse. I don't know. But what has been really tough is when you come to a place where you're grounded, you know who you are, quote, locked in. Your life seems to be so figured out. Yeah, it never is. But, you're in a much better place than you were before. And that doesn't mean things just work out all the time. It's really hard when you become one of the best versions of yourself that you can be, and it's still not enough for someone. That's what those thoughts can start to creep in, and you think, so it really is me. It's not just my behavior or what I was doing, because I fixed my behavior and I fixed my habits and where I was and all these things that I was doing, and I still came up short. I became the best version of me. I put 100% of my effort, and my life was going in the best direction that it could, and it's still not enough. That's like the hardest pill to swallow that I think I've found along this journey. There's no excuse to fall back on like there used to be. But so yeah, I have given something 100% and still come up short. But there's always a lesson in it. There always is. You will never, if you choose to, you will never walk away from any situation with less wisdom than you walked into it with. So there's always something to learn, no matter how miserable, for sure. All right, boys, that's a wrap for this Q&A. Like I said, if you got questions you want to get answered, check out my link. That's where I'm going to be pulling them from. That's where I pulled these from. I've got a few, so probably running some from next week, but your question probably get answered here soon. I'm going to be trying to do these once a week. So Uncommon Sense. Soon we're going to have some guests on here. I'm hoping Dr. Robert Glover. He was on Chris's podcast. He is like a author. He wrote No More Mr. Nice Guy. Goalless. He's been on on Modern Wisdom twice. Awesome episodes. Loved them. And in there, he hinted that he said he takes every single person who asks him to be on his podcast. So I'm like, dude, why wouldn't I ask him? He said, yeah, he was like telling a story about how like this guy who had like a really little podcast asked him to be on. And he said, yeah, because he goes on every podcast. So he's going to be on mine. Let's go, boys. Yeah, I'm stoked. But yeah, listen to those episodes first because that'll just make it better. So as always, I love you guys and thank you for tuning in. I don't really have a catchphrase out. It's not easy, but it is simple. Don't overcomplicate it. No. Love you guys.